Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Modern Divorce Podcast. It's August 24th, 2022. It's like the year just accelerates after, I think, August into September. Is that is that how it is in the divorce world too? It just takes off.
I mean, I think yes, and it takes off until about Christmas time, and then nobody wants to deal with this stuff at Christmas time, which is understandable. So it gets pretty busy till the holidays really hit.
So it's this back to school thing where the kids are back in school. I remember like being at home and just it's like time just froze and it just took summer took forever sometimes. So kids going back to school. There's probably a new like vaccine that's coming out. I know there's certain like we've read the headlines with these stories. Have you gone to any kind of I guess cases where this thing comes up?
Yeah, so I did hear that the one vaccination that doesn't have the mRNA is like finally available for kids. So that's good news if people were worried about that. But yes, it's been a big issue in court with one parent wanting it and one parent not. And I pretty much, at least in Los Angeles, the courts are always siding with the parent that wants the vaccination. And while courts can't order, they can't order you to vaccinate your child because that's your medical right as a parent, they can decide which parent gets to make the decision. So, from my experience, they're always picking the one who wants the vaccination, regardless of any other factors, that parent's past track record in decision making, like none of that seems to matter. The courts have this opinion that, in general, I'm not saying every court, but that children should be vaccinated for COVID.
It's interesting because this is like an unprecedented thing, and you would in court, right? You go on precedent. So judges are. Is this like considered like for a judge to rule into but like in favor of the vaccination? Is that more of like it's not. I mean, I hate to say conservative because it takes on a whole connotation. But is this like you're going in uncharted territories and but the science and the logic favor it. So it's kind of like you're in a weird place where I guess it can go both ways.
Yeah, so I mean, I could talk about this all day because it's such a fascinating legal issue, but this comes down to, the general issue that we see all the time of who makes the laws. Is it the court or the legislature? It's supposed to be the legislature. So the legislature makes a law, everyone has to get the COVID vaccination. And then it's the court's job to enforce it. Well, the legislature hasn't made that law. So the courts can't enforce that. However, courts frequently take a position that ends up ultimately making law. Like, for example, Roe v. Wade, the court made law with Roe v. Wade. The legislature didn't make that law, the courts made that law. And that's how precedent starts. But what's interesting is precedent, as we just saw, can obviously be overturned and you can make new precedent. So while the courts can say, okay, the parent who wants the vaccination gets to choose, that's not actually the law made by the legislature. Now, if the legislature wants, if they like that, they can take that law, they can take that precedent and turn it into a law. So it's just a really fascinating checks and balances, like divisions of government issue. So yeah, I could do a whole podcast on that one day because I think
And
it's
then
so fascinating.
if you take one step back, the bills go through Congress, right? And then it becomes a local thing because, and then you take a step further back, it's who wins these elections that are there's stuff coming up in California. It's like you said, it's a whole. It's like it's some things where it's like even like for me, I'm like I don't want to deal with stuff. This is Emily's thing, but as like regular people, it's like you have to understand how this all works. But it's interesting to me.
And like, for example, there was a decision made in a court of appeals a few years ago, and I won't go into the details, but it had to do with like the date of separation in divorce. And it changed what every lawyer, every family law attorney had been considering the date of separation, and changed all of the way we had to, deal with date of separation issues, which is the big issue in divorce. And generally, most of us felt like it was a pretty bad decision because it basically said if you're still living together, you can't be legally separated. And that was never the case before. A lot of people can't afford two households while they're going through a divorce. So it really harmed people because they weren't allowed to live together. If they still lived together, they couldn't be considered separated for the divorce purposes. But then what if they couldn't afford to move out? What are they supposed to do? So it actually also really negatively affected people with less money because they couldn't be separated because they couldn't afford to move out. So because it was such a bad decision, the legislature actually made a law that specifically said this is not going to be the case anymore. And this is specifically meant to overturn that case ruling. So it's interesting because that's what our checks and balances does. Like it can go back and forth.
I say two words that come to mind is the more and more you look into this, it's like we live in like brutal capitalism. Like in some form or another, it's like an unforgiving. That's like how America's kind of become. And I think it's evolving. I hope it kind of is more like forgiving to like people, like normal person. Because I mean, even with this whole thing with inflation, it is like a whole. This is a huge discussion that could just go on forever.
I have clients moving out of California in record numbers because no one can afford to live here. It's brutal. It really is. It's gotten to this point where you're either rich or poor, and the middle class has no place. Like it's getting like in San Francisco. Like when I was a student there, I was a poor law student. There's only rich and poor. There's nothing in the middle. Like that's how California seems to be turning, and that's not good for most people. So yeah, it's a mess, but it gives me a lot of move away cases where people are filing to move away. So, but anyway.
You know who's rich is Sylvester Stallone. It looks like he's getting divorced. There's this thing where this is like, I think the third or fourth celebrity that I guess waited till like the 25th anniversary. So let's move into the part of the show where we go over the news. A lot of times we see celebrity divorces. There's something where celebrities are unrelatable but relatable at the same time because they're not immune to divorce. We see child custody, things like trends, financial topics. So let's get into it. But first, do you have a favorite Sylvester Stallone movie?
Oh gosh. I mean, it probably has to be Rocky. I mean, whose isn't that one?
I didn't like Rocky that much. I like Rambo. Rambo, like if you go
really?
back, yeah, that was like my thing. But looking back, I was like, gosh, I was such a a primitive like little boy who just liked machine guns and blowing stuff up, and yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed admitting it now. All right.
I did hear he covered his tattoo of his wife. He covered it with something else because they're divorcing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good thing. Like he didn't get it. Like I know some people are getting neck, face tattoos, so it's can't be that bad if you can cover it up or take it off.
Oh yeah, thank goodness, right?
Yeah. So I guess it's like permanent, right? He's like he's like looking back, he's like, oh, okay, this isn't it's temporary. You got to get maybe there's something with temporary tattoos where maybe you could like invent one and it'll last 10 years. So all right, more celebrity news here. So J-Lo got married again, right? So this is let me see if we can pull up the prenup because this would be interesting. So it's stylecaster.com. J-Lo and Ben had no cheating clause in their 2003 prenup. Here's if they had the same prenup for their wedding. Oh my gosh. So they got a net worth that's combined $550 million. See if we can dig in here. Okay, so do Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have a prenup? So J-Lo and Ben did not sign a prenup, according to a report by OK Magazine in July 22. The magazine reported at the time that J-Lo and Ben decided not to sign a prenup to protect their combined $550 million net worth. J-Lo is worth $400 million, while Ben is worth $150 million, because their love is so unconditional. According to the magazine, Ben has had a grounding effect on J-Lo. He doesn't have the same need to show off, yada, yada, yada.
Wow.
So let's see. This is from their 03 prenup. It looks like here it was just that clause. So how does that work? Like a no cheating clause?
Well, typically that's not valid in California. It can't be enforceable. So I don't know that that's actually going to do anything. I'm curious what happened. What if you cheat, you get nothing? I don't know. I don't know what it actually said, but those typically aren't enforceable. But it shocks me that they didn't have a prenup this time. Like, I mean, that's great. I hope their love is unconditional, but these are both celebrities with children who have been married before. Who are worth a lot. It doesn't make sense to me that they wouldn't have a prenup. It just doesn't. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. She's got a lot of wealth to protect. He's got a lot of wealth to protect. Wow.
We'll see, because it looks like I don't know if look, if it goes well, great. If I was betting on it, if I had to bet $1 million, I mean, it's like within 2 years. But we'll see when that happens.
I mean, that's
like
long for us. That's long for a celebrity marriage. Plus, I don't know, they were together in like the early 2000s. They did that movie Geely or whatever. And yeah, that's just crazy that they've reconnected after 20 years.
So what happens if they get divorced again? They're just gonna keep I assume they have like all separate accounts and everything, because they all have separate houses, and I assume it'll just be a clean breakup. Is that how it probably would work, you think?
Well, anything they had before the marriage would be clean, but anything they acquired together, even if they keep separate accounts, if it's acquired during the marriage, if they're living in California and the divorce is in California, that's community. So they're going to have to split that.
All right. Enough
Plus,
celebrity.
There's alimony issues for whoever makes more money, which sounds like it's J-Lo.
Oh no, J-Lo's gonna have to pay out the alimony to like
maybe
how many more husbands? Multiple. She just has to work just the alimony. Okay, no more J-Lo news. Let's see. So this is from NJ.com, New Jersey, but we can kind of tailor this to, let's say, California. So question is from this article. I make more than my husband. What happens to alimony in divorce? We just kind of cover that briefly, but here's a little more. I'm about to file for divorce, and we have 2 minor children. I will get sole custody. I make more money than my husband. Does that mean I won't get child support or alimony?
So alimony is, yes, based on who makes more frequently. So probably would not get alimony, but child support is based on income, but also the time percentage with the child. So she may get child support. It won't be as much as if he made more money, but yes, you would still probably get some child support if you have sole custody. Even, you don't get as much as someone with a spouse that makes more, but you get something.
So next article has to do with Social Security. I have no hope for Social Security when I become, what is it, like 60s something? I don't even look.
Yeah, you can start taking it then. I think anyone under 60 now has to be very worried.
But okay, let's cover this, because this person looks like she's 70s. Okay, so this is from OregonLive.com. This is like a Dear Liz, but Dear Emily today. I was married for 25 years. Most of the time, I was a full-time housewife and worked part-time here and there. Social Security keeps telling me that I can't collect on my ex's Social Security until he dies. He's 74 and I'm 72. I started collecting at 62 and don't get that much in Social Security. Is it true I have to wait until he dies to get more?
So Social Security is all governed by federal rules. So it's whatever the federal law says for their particular situation. So it's based on when he started taking it, when she started taking it. Is she getting a derivative benefit off of his, or is she getting her benefit from her work? So I guess the answer is I don't know. She'd have to contact the Social Security Administration to find out her, her situation. But I will say, shockingly, their website is actually very user-friendly. And whenever I tell clients to go contact them and look up their own benefits, they always get a good answer.
All right, so let's get into the part of the show where we ask Emily anything. We kind of started it already, but let's get into it more. First thing, so we cover people that are starting their divorce journey, maybe their mental health issues. Like this one's an interesting topic, the first one. So there's this topic I keep hearing is quiet quitting. Have you heard of this, Emily? In like just quiet quitting in like I don't know, a teacher, a job. So what it is, the concept is like if you're a teacher, you just do the minimal things. You're not trying to like I guess elevate your job. You're just kind of like slacking off. I do it's not quite quitting, but sometimes you're just not like into it. But this is like the whole thing. So this first post is quite quitting my marriage and what to do next. Pretty long post, but here are the talking points. So this is a male, I assume here. I have enough funds and I'm capable of supporting myself and our kids solo. I've been saving for a year. She thinks we would use it as a down payment on a house. So far, I've been able to hold off on that thanks to a bad market. I would like to scope out apartments in specific school district. My goal is at minimum 50-50 custody, and I would prefer to the primary. Here's my holdup. We live in a place where she has no family and very few friends. I've seen enough of her conversations to know she doesn't plan on divorcing, so could get rough. So my question is, what did you wish you knew before seeing a lawyer? Like, what do you wish you came into the lawyer's office with? What kind of knowledge? What things did you find out you wasted time on that you should have? I feel like I'm ready to meet with an attorney. Let me see if I can get you some more talking points here. So so this guy's tried to even get marriage counseling, and he thinks that the wife's having an affair. So basically, he's quiet quitting his marriage. So I know he asked like some lawyer questions, but what do you think of this?
Well, for the quiet quitting part, I mean, it seems like you're kind of trying to get the other side to initiate. You're sort of like, you know, doing the bare minimum. So hopefully they divorce you. That could take a very long time. So I would suggest if, he's unhappy that he probably move forward and, tell her he wants a divorce. I mean, it's a tactic and you can do it. And a lot of people do it so they don't feel guilty, but it's a very slow tactic usually.
All right, our last post of the day here is, did you speak to an attorney before telling your spouse you wanted a divorce? This is a getting started one. Or did you go to an attorney and discuss the situation first? It's kind of confusing at the end, but I guess everyone's different, but what's the best advice here?
I mean, I think either way is fine, depending on your relationship. But I do think getting an attorney's opinion, having a consultation early in the process is smart because you want to know what you're dealing with and what things look like. But you also want to know your options for divorce, like mediation or litigation or collaborative divorce. And so you'd want to talk to an attorney early on. It doesn't necessarily have to be before you notify your spouse, but it should be very early in the process.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining us on the Modern Divorce Podcast. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.